Naomi, good evening. Thank you so much for making time to be here. Please do introduce yourself to the BIS Connect parents.
Hi, Bindu. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for taking time out on a Sunday. My name is Neomi, as Bindu just introduced. We've got 3 daughters who've been at BIS since 10 years now. We are from Bombay. My husband is from Kerala, but we relocated to Bangalore about 18 years ago. And when we came to Bangalore, we were newly married, not had not yet started family. And once we started family, we knew that we wanted the best for our girls, and that's how we landed up at BIS.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
My childhood actually, a lot of my childhood was spent at Bahrain. I studied at the Indian school Bahrain. My dad worked for the King of Bahrain, so our stay was very close. In fact, the accommodation was around one of the palaces. The king had multiple palaces, and we lived around one of those. And I grew up, so my childhood was childhood by the beach. And if you ask me, I can just go on and on and on, because every day we'd ask mom, Ma, can I go play at the beach?
Great. So a real life princess is who I'm talking to. I had no clue. What do you do
Yeah,
professionally?
it was a man-made beach. Sorry,
No,
it
go
was a
ahead.
man-made beach, and that was the good part about it. Till that time, I never knew there was something like man-made beaches, and which is why it was very safe, and which is why my parents never stopped. We have 4 children, and they never stopped us from playing at the beach.
Interesting. So interesting. What do you do professionally? What inspired you to pursue your current profession?
So 7 years ago, my husband and I started this company called High Caliber League. And co-working is one of the verticals. Another vertical of the business is business advisory, where we work as advisories for small businesses and startups. We do a lot of workshops and trainings for medical colleges in the areas of soft skills. What inspired me during my trainings, I came across a lot of students who came from tier 2 and tier 3 cities having educational qualifications, but not the soft skills that would land them in good jobs. So for me, I really believe in empowering others to reach higher grounds. That has always been something that gives me immense satisfaction. So I have done a lot of pro bono sessions and, for nonprofit organizations just to bridge this gap.
Very, very inspirational. That's extremely nice that you're reaching out to communities which probably will never get someone like you to be able to tell them how to handle just the softer side of a job and working in the workforce.
Yeah.
What drives you through tough times?
Um, I think I just have one answer for that. It's faith in the divine creator. I have been through some really tough times, and I've realized that very often the walk in the wilderness is lonely, it's cold, it's dark, but when you believe in the light within you, no matter how long the tunnel is, the light that is within you is enough to lead you to the end.
Very interesting. Do you want to talk about any particular instance where, if it's not too personal, where it was tough and you had to draw from that source?
Many incidents actually. I think the most recent would just be the pandemic, when there was panic, there was uncertainty. We didn't even know, right? I mean, just keeping your window open was something like, oh my God, what if the virus gets in? Yeah, it was just crazy. It was like The virus just lived in the air and could transport itself wherever it wanted
On
and could
wings.
inhabit whoever.
On
Sorry,
wing, on
yeah,
wings, yeah.
yeah. It could inhabit whoever it wanted and do whatever it wanted. But I think that is something that kept us as a family. We just believed that, uh, this too shall pass.
Hmm.
And as long as we are protected under the wings of the Creator, nothing can touch us. And whatever happens will be in His plan.
Super. The next thing that I want to ask you is, if moods choose music, what moods drive your music choices?
Um, what moods? I, I, you know, during this phase in life, you go through so many moods.
Hmm.
So I sometimes I can't even recognize my moods. But I think I'm more of a very country music kind of a person. Gospel music is my go-to. It's like a booster, energizer for me. But I love country music. I love old love songs. I do like a select few new ones.
Hmm.
But the olden songs by MLTR, Boyzones, Boys to Men. My favorite is Bangalorean,
Hmm.
Lucky Ali.
Ah, okay. Um, what do you think is unique about the culture and the cultural fabric of Bangalore?
Okay, so coming from Bombay, 20 years ago, Bangalore was like heaven to us. The rich flora, the lake beds, the open lands, and the weather.
Hmm.
I'm actually another thing that is very, very different that, we noticed again because we moved is the way the cops treat people, treat the citizens here in Bangalore. They're generally so polite, so
Yes.
respectful. My husband was caught recently for entering a no entry area. He did not realize it was no entry, but the cop was so respectful. He's like, "Sir, this is a no entry. Did you not see the sign? You now have to pay the fine."
Yeah. Yeah.
But in Bombay, they would just come behind you with a lathi.
Hmm. Yeah, that's scary. That's really scary. Uh, it's been interesting. I've asked so many candidates the same question. It's so interesting that everybody has a different point to pick up, and everything is strangely unique to Bangalore. Like this whole thing about cops, it's this is not. I mean, you're the first person who said it. Somebody else also talked about how respectful they are normally, and for women, I think they just bend over backwards to be respectful
Yeah.
and decent, and which is. As a Bangalorean, I didn't realize it was unique till somebody mentioned it. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realize that that was a thing. But here you are saying it for the
Oh, it
second time.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if you have, if you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Uh, Nelson Mandela.
Mm,
And my question to him would be why?
mm,
What drove him to stand for his belief systems at the cost of his own personal freedom? At the cost of his family. I remember watching a documentary also on him, and it was so inspirational. I mean, how many of us would be willing to walk that road, not just literally laying down your life for the sake of others?
mm.
Uh, you yourself becoming nothing so that somebody else gains something. So I think that man had something absolutely fantastic about himself. And of course, his quotes are so, so inspirational.
Yeah, that's a very, very nice choice of historical figure to speak to. I think you could probably sit down for a whole day or a week and just chat with him, considering all that he did for humanity at large.
Yes,
Moving
yes.
on, moving on, what have you learned from success and what have you learned from failure?
Excuse me. Please excuse my throat. I'm really struggling with my throat. So please excuse me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was supposed to have done this and I forgot. Folks, Naomi's not been well. She's very, very kindly decided to agree to do this. And I was very surprised because her throat is really bad and she's really struggling. So please overlook all of this. And thank you so much, Naomi. Really, kudos to you that you're sitting here despite everything. So let me ask you again, what have you learned from success? And what have you learned from failure?
Um, uh, what have I learned? Okay, so I've learned that success is amazing. The thrill of being successful is just something else, but success is also not permanent. So might as well enjoy it and don't let it get to your head. But I've also learned that failure is not permanent. But what we need to do from failure is learn from failure. Because, one thing that I really believe is if you don't learn the lesson, you're going to go through that chapter over and over again till you learn it.
Hmm.
So failure is not permanent. Learn from it and don't let failure also get to your head.
Nice. Very good. Moving on to a completely different topic, what about BIS is inspirational to you?
I think the fact that my children want to be in school every single day.
Hmm.
Even when, if they're not keeping well, even if sometimes there's a holiday, like I think the most recent episode that we had with our youngest daughter who fell and had a terrible wound, had, multiple stitches. But come Monday, and she's like, I want to go to school. I need to go to school. I have to go to school.
So
I
sweet.
think that is because their teachers treat them so much more than just students. And we've
Hmm.
got an amazing teaching staff who I've always said that to them, but they are a blessing.
Yes, I agree. There's something about the teaching stuff. I was telling Cam a little while ago, there's a little bit of fairy dust for some reason that hangs around BIS, and the kids just love to go there and hang out. And most of us don't seem to have the problem of getting kids to school, which is such a
Yes.
cliched, typical thing, right? So, yes, I think a lot of us moms, especially, are like so grateful that our kids want to go to
Yes.
this school.
So I'd like to share something, Bindu.
Please.
Actually, my youngest daughter did have a lot of anxiety issues,
Hmm.
from her Montessori days.
Hmm.
And I remember she continued that at BIS for nearly 3 months. It was terrible because I drop her to school and then I'm just come home and I'm waiting for this call from school, which is going to tell me that, can you please come and pick her up because she just refuses to stop crying and she refuses to eat anything. And the teachers were just so flexible, so
Nice.
supportive, so understanding that they gave me different suggestions on how we could approach this matter, how we could handle her. We tried a lot of things, but one thing that one of the teachers told me, just impacted me so much. She said, because I said, I feel bad that she has separation anxiety. I feel like I have not done something right as a mother. And she said, no, why don't you look at it this way? That you've been such a phenomenal mother that she cannot find anyone who matches you.
Yeah.
And which is why I'm saying our teachers are just fantastic.
Yeah, just the fact that I think, unlike a lot of schools, I think the teachers at BIS realize that this is a collaborative effort, right, between the parents, the kids,
Yeah.
and the teachers, and it's not a confrontational thing between the parents and the teachers, but we're all collaborating together, and I think that's what makes it uh, different, because this is one parent with one issue with one child, and yet the teacher reached out and tried to find so many solutions, which is really, really wonderful about BIS. Moving on to the next one, what life-changing event in the past has shaped you today or your today?
Many events have had significant impacts on my life, like marriage,
Mm.
motherhood, moving base from Bombay to Bangalore, from Bahrain to Bombay. But I think what really changed me was that a few years ago I had to undergo biopsy on two different occasions for two separate issues,
Hmm.
and it all boiled down to stress.
Oh no.
But that in that season of my life, I made a decision to not engage or, to not ponder
Hmm.
negativity or darkness,
Hmm.
but to enjoy the finer things in life and to be grateful for what I have than to complain about what I don't.
Yeah,
And that is something I try to teach my girls.
that's a scary way to come to that conclusion, but that's one
Yeah.
day at a time
Sometimes
business.
life has to use those scary
Yeah,
methods.
yeah. While it's a hard lesson to learn, but that one day at a time attitude, I think if all of us took it, we would probably perhaps do a lot more with our lives and be a lot more present in
Yes,
our own lives. So,
absolutely.
what is the one thing about you that most people don't know that you wish people knew about you?
Uh, I can tell you one thing that people don't know. I don't know if I want to wish that they know it about me. I keep thinking, going back to incidents and saying, you know what, if you knew this about me, then I have a brown belt in karate.
You
I have,
do. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, tell us
I
more.
had an I also had a license to fight, but it, of course, is expired now. But whilst in Bahrain, I did karate for a very long time and participated in a lot of competitions, won a lot
Wow.
of competitions.
Wow.
Yeah, I reached the brown belt. In fact, my senseis, they always thought that that I was always ready to for double promotions, and they always gave me the double promotions. I wish I could have pursued it, but after coming back to India, we did not find a lot of, karate teachers in the same style
Hmm.
because karate has different styles. And that's when I had to stop. But I haven't stopped my girls from learning karate, so they are now learning karate.
Wow. Yeah, this is something that people ought to know about you before messing with you, right?
That I could give back if I wanted to.
Yeah, in spades. So that's real. Oh, that's unusual. Seriously unusual. Um, Now, from something like that to something more serious, what are your thoughts on the concept of women seeking permission, whether in personal or professional contexts? Please explain.
Um, I think it really depends on the context. I think this is a very, very sensitive topic,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to approach it from the point of being a mother for three daughters, uh, two in their teens and one still pretty small. I have to draw boundaries for them. And this entire discussion, I think, depends on how you look at this concept of permission. Yeah. So when your actions may affect only you, then you probably don't really require permission. You might want to take advice instead. But when it would have an impact on others, it is always good to take counsel. I believe um, obtaining consent only shows respect in any relationship.
Yeah, I
So,
think perhaps I should have added a particular line there. This concept of adult women, seeking permission for stuff like, can I do this, that, or the other with my life? Like, say, for instance, in our country specifically, not having the right to get married to who you want, not having the right to choose a job of your liking, or because society won't approve of it, not even being allowed to work, from those kinds of things, right, where you're told to do something and you're told to shut up and sit down, and you do it because that's what's expected of you.
yeah, so I don't think that is limited to just permission.
Hmm.
If somebody wants to marry someone from probably a different caste,
Right.
asking for permission is not going to make any difference to their life.
Hmm.
It's more about the
Hmm.
freedom to make their own choices,
Hmm. So you do
you know.
believe that
Uh,
women are not second class citizens and have equal right to make those choices, correct? Because in a country like ours,
Yes.
it is, I know for us as urban women, it feels like ridiculous to even talk about it. But we are like a tiny percentage of, a very large group of people.
No, I completely understand that. Because, like I said, I do train a lot of students coming from the villages, coming
Right,
from tier two and tier three cities.
right.
And a lot of them don't, there are times they've taken medical as a subject, not because they want to,
Hmm.
because they've been told to,
Unfortunate.
and they have no interest in it.
Hmm.
So I've had conversations with them saying that, you need to go back, explain it to your parents that you need to choose something where you can excel, where you can shine.
Right.
You're going to be stuck here. So that I think it's more a matter of choice over there than
Hmm.
permission.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Tough ones, really tough ones. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever received, and how has it influenced you?
Um, I don't, it would be very difficult to recall any one piece of advice, but someone once gifted me a set of three books and advised me to read those books. And I think that was the best advice they gave
Hmm.
me, and it was the best gift I've received.
Nice. Very nice. Just out of curiosity, what three books?
The book's by Dino, which is The Greatest Secret, The Greatest Salesman, and The Greatest Miracle.
Interesting. Very interesting. Um, is there a particular book or movie that has had a significant impact on your life?
And I think it just relates to that answer I just gave you.
Correct.
Um,
Movie then.
these three books were just so impactful, because it does talk about, how you think. It talks about um, uh, um, having good, building the right habits. In fact, he does have, there's a name, there's a specific word or a title given to that, because there are multiple declarations that they had. I remember making a sheet a few years ago, sticking it up on my bathroom uh, mirror, so that I would say that every single morning. And those three books are just fantastic. They're phenomenal. There's so much of wisdom in those three books. I think anyone who can read it must read it.
Super.
I
What
think
are your
one of the quotes, if I can just,
Please do.
mention it,
Please do
Bindu.
go ahead. Yeah.
Ogmandino does state that what is success other than a state of mind? And, he does advise that if you manage your emotions, then you've managed your life.
Lots of wisdom in that. Lots of things that you can sit back and think about and spend some time, working through it in your head. What are your goals or aspirations for the future, both professionally and personally?
Personally, I think for my family, it would be to raise a generation that would be rooted and confident in their identity, solid in their beliefs, and humans who would have hearts of compassion. Professionally, I think we'd want to have uh, to be in the professional space where we impact uh, other businesses and, even professionals, so that they connect with success. That is the tagline of our business, because we believe in it very, very strongly, that any way we can help or contribute in, helping somebody else up the ladder of success is a feather in our cap.
Neat. Very nice. Um, in most problematic situations, would you make your decisions and find solutions based on black, white, or gray areas?
In most problematic situations,
Yeah. Would you
would
make
I
your
make my decision?
and find solutions based on black, white, or gray areas?
Okay, I think I'll make a gray decision based on the black and white areas.
All right. So you don't believe that there's this black and white. You believe that life is more in the gray.
No, no, there is black and black and white is very, very important because black and white is what are facts.
Hmm.
But in order to analyze those facts, you need to be in a gray area.
Hmm.
Because if you're in white and you're trying to analyze black, you might not be able to. If you're in black and you're trying to analyze white, you might not be able to. But from a gray area perspective, you will be able to look at both.
That's a nice way to look at it. That's a very nice way to look at it.
I hope it made sense
No, it
because I'm
made
wondering if
sense.
I've made
No,
sense.
no, it made sense. What you're saying is you have to stand in the gray and understand that there's black and white, but you have to look at the grays to figure out which way you need to head, because the blacks and whites are fairly simple. It's the grays you need to focus on. Am I right? Cool. Okay. That was very nicely put by you. You put it very nicely. Have you done any
Thank you, Bindu.
Have you done any voluntary work? And what was your reason for volunteering?
Uh, I have done voluntary work. What is my reason? I think just the satisfaction that you get out of it. So a few years ago, I think we supported an orphanage. When I say we, I would go to the orphanage almost every other day,
Wow.
and this was for an entire year.
Wow.
And make sure that the children have at least their biscuits, they have something to have for breakfast. Because I remember there was one time that we'd gone to visit them, and they were all sitting there in they were sitting in lines. And when we asked them what are they waiting for, um, they said water.
Oh
So I
Lord.
said, okay, and then what? No, then they're going to go to bed. So I said, why? Because there's nothing to eat.
Oh,
And it
ouch.
broke my heart because I was like, I mean, how can we have uh, situations like this in our neighborhood? And how can we not be aware of it? So for an entire year, I did what I could, but because of various reasons, we had to stop. Um, but that was, there was a lot of learning in that. I
Hmm.
have also, I do a lot of pro bono sessions for, um, you know, students, for youth. I've done one at St. Anthony's. I've done a career counseling session for Reaching Hand, and I've done a few more.
Very nice. Yeah, that thing that you said about the orphanage was heartbreaking. And the sad part is it's part of our fabric. It's the fabric of India. It's the fabric of urban Bangalore. As much as a lot of us are doing really well in life, the reality of the situation is that this is just there. And the great part is, I think a lot of people from our generation, I think it's the first generation that has seen mass upward movement and mobility and education. I think a lot of people from our generation are reaching out in small pockets, and I do believe that they're
Correct.
all adding up in little drops. But the heartbreaking stuff
Yes.
is there's just so much to do no matter how much you do, because
Correct.
and just hearing about children drinking water. What can you say?
And going to bed on empty stomachs. Oh my God, that was just, um, our children need to know this. They need to see this
Mm,
because, not because of any other reason, but because that feeling of compassion
yeah.
needs to be stirred up inside them.
Correct. And also just the fact that I think you kind of get used to being blessed, and you stop kind of paying
Mm,
attention to the fact that none of us go to bed because we don't have food to eat. So you kind of become used to it till something like this hits you, in the gut. That's when you realize the fact that all of us
correct.
are so blessed, beyond blessed.
True. Absolutely true.
Um, Moving on to our last two questions, fun ones. Are there any hobbies or interests that you're passionate about?
There used to be a lot before I had my girls. But I think I revived a few of them. Acrylic painting is something I really enjoy. And when
Mm,
I take my paints out and I take my canvas out, it's like the entire family comes to paint.
mm,
It's
lovely.
a family painting session, but it's fun. I love baking. For the last 10 years, the girls have always taken cupcakes to school that, they are the special cupcakes which will have toppings and fondant and all of it. It is done only on their birthdays. We bake at least 100 for school.
Wow.
I have a lifelong desire to learn dance. I can't dance, but my entire family waltzes and jives, and I'm the only one who can't. So that is something that I really, really wish I could do someday.
Don't worry, there are another 40 years. I'm sure you'll find some space in it to learn to dance. What do you
I
do?
hope.
What do you like to do for fun?
For fun, I think for fun, I like to lock myself in my room and be all alone.
How
But,
that sounds just like a mother with three kids of all ages. Yeah, yeah.
but I
So,
think as a family, we love impromptu road trips, making random vacation plans. On the most recent trip that we had a couple of months ago, we went to Kannur. We lay on the beach in the middle of the night, the
mm,
entire family, and we just gazed at the stars. And
oh, cool.
it was just so beautiful. But yeah, I love those moments where, you're not bound you're not restricted. You can just relax. You can just lay down, listen to the waves, look at the skies, and there's absolutely nothing between you and nature.
That's cool. That's really cool. Considering where we've been for the last couple of weeks now, I want to walk into that dream right now, post haste. So that really brings us to the end of the questions that we had planned for you. Before we wrap up,
Yay.
is there something that you would like to say to the BIS parents at large? Any message, anything that you want to say to them?
I would want to say, please vote wisely. I think this is really a shot that we've got where our decisions are going to impact the school. It's going to impact um, the future. And it's very important to make an informed decision. So that is my plea to the parent body.
Wonderful. I'm sure that they will pay heed and take your advice because it is very important. Thank you very much for the time that you've spent with us, especially since you've been unwell. And all the very best. I do hope that you get on the board and that you bring BIS back to the BIS that we both know, having been parents in the school for a very long time. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Bindu. Thank you for your time. I did not expect it to be so entertaining, but thank you. I had fun.
Great. Me too. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, Bindu.